Welcome to the Museum Roadshow. My name's Amy Degerstrom. I'm the director at the Becker County Museum. And following up on last week's discussion of electrifying Minnesota, we thought we'd walk through some of the things in our collection that show us what things were like before and after electricity for your day-to-day life. So just looking at a few of the artifacts here, first of all, of course, shaving. Everybody needs a good shave, right? So you have a variety of objects that you could have used beforehand. Here you've got a shaving cup, which includes the brush, so you get it nice and soaped up. You'd have your razor in there, and this would be something that would be used along with a straight edge razor or a later kind of Bic style razor. So here we have kind of scary looking, right? Straight edge razor that would have been used along with that. Usually those are used in barbershop setting. You might have your own personalized cup at that shop and keep it there. As time went by, we get to the more kind of modern version of razors. These look a little bit more like the ones that we have today or that we use today. They'd have to, of course, be sharpened at home as well, so none of those good disposable blades that we use now. Now, when electricity came along, suddenly you have the option of having an electric razor, which was a pretty big, exciting thing. So here we have a Remington razor. You can see it's called Electro Blade Comfort System razor, so it has many, many blades rather than just the one that you saw in the straight edge. And these would have been available starting probably in the 1940s, 1950s. You can see they have a nice little electric plug-in, so they'd be very convenient. You just have to remember to charge them, I suppose, to keep them going. And it would be much quicker than having to actually soap up and shave the old-fashioned way, I guess. We also, of course, for women, have on the opposite side beauty products. So women who were trying to curl their hair or do all the things that we do to make ourselves beautiful each morning would originally have to use these really kind of interesting hair curlers, right? These are curlers that would have been heated up in your kerosene lantern. They fit right in the top of the chimney here, and you'd heat those up so that you could get a nice tight curl. Now, just like ironing, which we'll talk about in a little bit, those curling irons would have to be heated up again and again and again. So you might have 2 or 3 or 4 of them so that you can actually keep going and curl your whole head, right? As time went by, you also developed things like crimpers. So these are crimpers. Think about the 1920s, those kind of Marcel wave hairstyles. These, once again, would have gone into the chimney of your lamp and heated up. They could also sit on the top of your wood-burning stove, for example. Might have been a good way to heat them up. Now, imagine if you can go from that to an electric curling iron, which heats up, stays hot the whole time. Maybe a little scary in terms of burning the hair. You have to get it adjusted just right. But you have the option of electric curling irons like the one you see here. This one's connected to its base. It has a cloth-covered plug-in, so you could plug that in, and it would stay heated up for the entire time that you wanted to curl your hair. You could also use a more modern one. Now this one is going to be a wide curl. This is probably from the 1960s, 70s. So you can get those big wide curls like the Farrah Fawcett hairstyle, right? Feathering it out. And so you can see that, I guess someone's even left a little in there for us. And these curling irons were pretty awesome, and they were very convenient compared to those timely curling irons that you would have used earlier. Now along the same lines, we've got actual irons, and these irons would have been used. This one is a flat iron. Everybody's probably seen those on Little House on the Prairie and other shows like that. These irons would have been put onto your wood-burning stove. You'd have to heat them up. Now imagine if you're putting this onto the surface of a nice white piece of cotton or something like that. You have to make sure it's nice and clean, and also you have to make sure it's not too hot because you will burn whatever you're ironing, right? So you can imagine, again, you'd have 2 or 3 of those at a time. You'd have to have different sizes for collars and cuffs and all those things. Now in the 1940s, 50s, suddenly you have irons that plug in, right? These irons would have been just like the curling irons, so you can plug them in. Notice that all of these plug-ins have cloth covering, which seems sort of counterproductive to something that's electric that has a current going through it, right? So they weren't always the safest in terms of fire safety, but certainly were much more convenient. You could set the different types of material that you were working with. So you have linen, cotton, wool, silk, rayon. So it gives you a variety of settings heat-wise and to allow you to make sure you're not actually burning the clothes that you're trying to iron. Now, more practically, from a household perspective, cooking. Cooking was a big job in your household, right? Cooking was very labor intensive. If any of you have ever tried to make your grandma's recipes, you know there's a lot of kneading and pushing and lots of upper body strength that's required for most of that, because of course all of that was manual. It wasn't electrified or helped with any kind of power. So think about even just the simple idea of mixing a cake or eggs or something like that. So here we've got a hand beater, right, that would mix around. Now do that for a couple minutes, not bad. Do that for 15 or 20 minutes. It's going to wear you out. So now in the 1940s, 50s, you have this beautiful General Mills electric mixer, top of the line. Now not only could you plug this one in, but the bowl actually fit on a spinning base. And so the bowl would actually spin around and do all the work for you. So this was very convenient. These were quite popular post-World War II and the baby boom. This was the thing you wanted to get for your wedding, right? This was your registry item that you really wanted to get. It made your life so much easier, your daily life as a housewife, which was really the job of most women for about the first, few centuries of our country anyway. I'm going to move around the back of the table here and we'll talk a little bit about some of the more practical sides of electricity and pre-electricity. So obviously lighting is the big one. We've got beeswax here. This is beeswax candle making kit. So it would allow you to have your wick and roll up your beeswax. Those could be made at home, so they were a little bit cheaper alternative to some of the more expensive. You can see a completed one here in this really interesting candle holder that actually goes up and down to make the candle shorter or longer, depending upon what you need. You also would use candles for everything else. So you'd have candles on your Christmas tree, for example. These clip on. You'd have to have a good bucket of water close by, I think, when you lit those. Candles individually to walk to bed, all of those things. Candle making was a big business pre-electricity. So here we have a candle mold. You can see all the spaces. So you'd heat up that wax, pour it in with the wicks, and be able to make a whole set of candles. Now, as time went by, you had the option of kerosene light. So you can see a few examples of kerosene lanterns here. Nice tall chimney, a little small wick in the center so you get that big bright light. Imagine how bright that would have been. After kerosene lanterns came along, then you suddenly start to get early electricity, those very early Edison light bulbs that look something like this one. They have a big open sort of flame-looking center to them. They would be very expensive at the time that they were made, but certainly that light must have been a miraculous thing to be able to just flip a switch and turn the lights on. The other thing that was really exciting about electricity was that simple tasks that you did every day would have been a lot easier. So you can see here a toaster. This is pre-electricity. This toaster would have sat on top of your wood-burning stove. Now as you go into the 20s, again, you have this fabric-covered cord. Flip down and put your toast inside of there. And then, of course, 1950s, you get the toasters that we all recognize and know and love today. So as you can see, electricity was an amazing invention. It was something that made life easier every day. We hope that you enjoyed the Museum Roadshow today and join us next week. Thanks so much.